everyone. My name is Nischal Bhattarai, and I'm a PhD student at School of Engineering University, Jönköping University. And I'll be presenting about my research work. So we know construction and infrastructure is quite important for a nation to achieve strategic goals as well as economic prosperity. And it happens often that it interacts with the environment. So environment and the construction and infrastructure development, of course, as I said, it interacts with the environment, and then it also can cause impact to it. So environmental permitting process facilitates this infrastructure growth while also ensuring that environmental protection or environmental compliance is met. But it is often characterized as complex, lengthy, and procedurally demanding. In Swedish case, Sweden is recognized to have a higher ambition related to environmental governance. And, but at the same time, it is facing increasing pressure to increase or accelerate infrastructure development projects. And recently, the Swedish government inquiry report was published, and then it mentioned that the permitting process is fragmented, weakly coordinated, and unpredictable. And there is a need for a more coordinated and streamlined digital permitting process. So this demand of procedural efficiency positions Swedish environmental permitting process as a valuable case to analyze what challenges can occur in permitting process. And this study aims to identify these challenges as a prerequisite to design for the conceptual design of streamlined digital permitting process. So this picture is not quite clear, but permitting process is not a very straightforward process. It has different regulatory layers and interaction between different stakeholders, repeated exchanges, and so on. So the bigger picture is A0 paper, and the smaller one are A4 and A2. So we had to kind of add so that we can sketch this process model. So this is created using BPMN 2.0, and then this represents environmental permitting process for hazardous activities and water operation. And I'll just go briefly how this process is structured. So it starts with early investigation and screening consultation. Then there is a need to determine significant environmental impact or not. So if after that there is a preparation of environmental impact assessment, and it is submitted to relevant authority along with these appendices and required documents. Then once regulatory authority receives this document, then it goes into completeness review, where it distributes to different referral authorities. And once that is complete, then it is published for public, comments and exchanges. And the applicant has to address comments and written explanation. And then finally, the authority decides. And if any of the parties are not quite happy, then there is a way to appeal the process. So this process reflects, in Swedish context, environmental permitting ordinance divides it into three categories: type A, type B, type C. This is for type A and B, it resembles same, but type C is less intensive, but in a broader sense, it reflects the similar process. So for this, we triangulated the evidences. We used scoping review and Swedish government inquiry report, as well as exploratory case study and focus group. And then we analyzed the findings, then did the thematic coding, and then identified 6 different challenges in the permitting process. So the first one is regulatory ambiguity and interpretive consistency. It's a way that the rule exists, the same thing, the same word, but it is interpreted differently by different authorities, and that often produces challenges. The second one is institutional and governance constraint. So there are multiple authorities, it's a decentralized format, and the coordination remains limited and also produces fragmentation there. The other one is procedural sequencing failure. There are instances where timing is not clear. When does this supplementation or completeness review start is slightly unclear, and so it leads to delay and repeated exchanges. Stakeholder participation and legitimacy issues. It is reported, or we found that there are stakeholders who say that the impact assessment is not quite clear and it is missing, it is not quite transparent. And confidentiality and competition, then how do we make the submitted documents as transparent as possible while also keeping this confidential information so that we protect the applicant? And data fragmentation and usage limitation, meaning that data exists, but there are still fragmentation and limited reuse and integration. So we then, this is the result. We classified into, as I said, 6 different codes. And in these 6 different codes, there is this, it reflects heavy manual interpretation, document-based exchanges, and those kind of manual works. And this also reflects that there is, in this analytical solution, it reflects that there is a need to orchestrate this process and also integrate or create a framework where you can integrate different heterogeneous data, and then also make it, secure and related to governance. So, in conclusion, we found that permitting challenges are not the single bottleneck, but you have a very big permitting process, and then these challenges are distributed in different stages. So digitization requires going beyond paper-based submission. Swedish case, it shows that there is a permitting portal where you can submit these documents, but those are mostly PDFs. So there is a need to go beyond these paper-based documents, and it reflects a need of integrated process where we can integrated process architecture that can support structured workflow, traceable decision and feedback, interoperable data exchange, clear roles and responsibility, control access to sensitive information. So this forms a basis for us to see how we can design environmental permitting process that can address these challenges. So this study also has some limitations. It is that we analyzed just a single case study. So this is more of analytical generalization. And then we also use this one within the permitting stage only. So it does not include post-permitting stages. And this is part, just want to acknowledge that this is part of SMARTY project. And yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone.